Hello, hello, dear beloveds. Well, I am so excited to be joining you here. This is pretty new for me to go live on YouTube, but I am excited to try out all the places where I can speak about what I'm excited about most. And today I want to talk to you about the cosmic laws. And I want to kind of go in at an introductory level because there's a lot of conversation about laws these days and what it is to live by the cosmic laws or the universal laws. But what is it that we're actually talking about when we talk about the immutable laws? So these are not laws that can be altered based on whoever's publishing a book or whatever's popular or trendy right now. These laws, and there's three of them, are the ones that are determining our reality all of the time. These are how the universe functions. And until we understand these laws, we're going to be caught up in a false belief that we can figure out how things are supposed to unfold. When we live in accordance with these laws, our life will come into a flow state. So we end up with ease and grace and with things coming to us with effortlessness, and to enter into a state or a relationship with the infinite consciousness of the one mind, which is how I describe it. You might hear it described as the divine matrix or the quantum field. To live in partnership with the quantum field, to live in a state of holy communion, we have to be living in accordance with these laws. There's no other way around it. So these laws should be, in my opinion, what we teach every child from the beginning of their life, because if they had this knowledge, then they wouldn't wonder, why are things happening this way? Why is God teaching me a lesson? Why am I being punished for working hard? Why are things like this? Why is this? And blah, blah, blah. And we wouldn't get caught up in the false ideas or these very kind of superficial spirituality ideas of laws that are created to sell a book or for our convenience or just, made up wankery. The laws that I'm going to share with you today are laws that are ancient, and they've been passed down mostly verbally until the beginning of the 20th century. And these three immutable laws, and the rest of the laws, some say there's 7, some say there's 12, because this was an oral tradition that was then only quite recently in our history, put down into writing. It's not necessarily going to be able to be verified. But let's say there's around 7 of these laws, but only 3 of them are immutable. And that means that they do not change. So when we understand these 3 laws, we begin to, as I say, move into right relationship with our own lives. So these laws were first written down anonymously and published in a text called the Kybalion at the beginning of the 20th century. And these laws were supposedly from the age of Hermes and Thoth, and that those are Egyptian and Hellenistic gods, and that they are able to, I guess, over time be held by the person who would receive them, who would be the initiate into that information. And then eventually, at the beginning of the 20th century, and probably with the advent of being able to publish things much more readily, these laws were finally written down. But up until then, they'd only been part of the oral tradition. And I think that's why there's so much mystery around this information. But the information itself is not mysterious. And in fact, what's happening now, and has been happening for the last 100 years, is with the advent of quantum physics, the laws are beginning to be verified from that perspective. But today is Cosmic Laws 101. So we're going to jump in to a very simple introduction of each of the 3 immutable laws. And if you can start building a relationship with these 3 laws, if you can start investing these or implementing these laws into your own life, you will very rapidly see success coming into your life with ease and grace, because you are literally lining up with that infinite one mind. So what are the laws? We have 3 of them. The first law is the law of mentalism. Then we have the law of correspondence, and then the law of vibration. And so I want to talk through these so that you can have an understanding, as I say, a very simple introductory understanding of what these 3 laws are and how they function, so that we may begin to implement them into our own lives. And believe me, because I live by these laws, I see how powerful they are and how much they can alter our reality if we're simply willing to assess or review our lives from that perspective, and to put down all of these other human ideas of what of right or wrong is. So the first law, the law of mentalism, and don't let the name kind of scare you, because actually it's a very simple law. It states that all is of the mind. And I want to break that down a little bit, of course, because we, particularly on the spiritual path, can get quite suspicious of the idea of mind, because we may think in terms of the ego mind, or the part of us that thinks it's separate from God. But if we actually start thinking in terms of mind being consciousness, and consciousness is all there is, and consciousness is what creates reality, we can begin to understand how we must live in accordance with that truth if we want to truly build from our place of power. And our place of power is not running around in 3D reality like headless chooks trying to make things happen by forcing physical matter into being. Where we most powerfully create from is from the level of pure consciousness. Now, one layer of that is thoughts, but another layer of that is feeling. We'll get into that when we get to the final law, the law of vibration. When those two forces meet, the thought and the feeling meet, we create a frequency that in fact is where we truly create from. So what is held in the mind is what is actually creating our reality, not what we would like it to be, from our personal identity, from our personality. And the layer of mind that I'm speaking of is not the conscious mind, which is that part of you that goes, I want to have a cruise next year, and I want this much money in the bank, and of course I want all my relationships to be awesome and free of fear, and I want to have heaps of success, and I want this and I want that. That's what the part of you that thinks it's in charge knows to be true of your life. And that's not actually the part of you that's running the show. The part of you that's running the show is the subconscious mind. And it's the subconscious mind that is creative. And so that's why the work that I do in the Institute and the work that I do as part of my Initiate program is so powerfully about going to meet the unmet subconscious program, because that program is actually, when we speak of this mind, all is of the mind, we're talking about the subconscious mind, not the part of you that creates the vision boards and thinks that that's where you're making your choices from. You are making your choices from the subconscious mind, which cannot be accessed by ordinary states of consciousness. We have to learn how to access that part of ourselves, and we can't do that in the ordinary running around crazy busy part of our life. So that's one part of this law. But the other part of that law of all is of the mind is that inherent interconnectedness of all life. That not only are we creating our individual reality, which is a misnomer, but we'll go with it for now because this is 101 and not the advanced program, that the inherent interconnectedness of all life, which has been proven by quantum physics, which is the idea of that quantum field, everything is part of that one consciousness, is in my understanding, the God mind. And so in the God mind, we all reside. We all exist in the one mind of God, that which is the original creative force. So everything is connected. Everything is one, which is why it's a misnomer to say that we have an individual mind that can go about trying to create a reality individually, because everything that we create is part of that one mind, which means we have a responsibility, to be ensuring that what we're creating is in accord with the greater good of all. Most of us don't take that responsibility. Most of us think it's about getting our own individual needs met. The really beautiful thing about this, though, is that when we recognize that inherent interconnectedness, we know that suddenly we have this place we can draw from, which we are part of and is part of everything around us, that brings to us with ease and grace all that we require at any given time if we know how to commune with it. Now, the truth is it's communing with us all of the time, but mostly we block that communication back to us because of our unmet subconscious fear. You see why it's so important that we do the work of clearing our unmet subconscious fear. So here we have this two parts to the law of mentalism. The inherent interconnectedness of all is of the one mind, and that is the God mind. And then we have the idea that we are creating not from the level of the superficial, and not from the level of the 3D, but from the deep subconscious layer of consciousness. And we have to learn how to commune with that. These are all skills we can learn, by the way. We just haven't been initiated into this information because no one told us how the cosmos really truly operates. But when you get initiated into that information, you have the keys to the universe. Suddenly you are able to create in such a powerful way. The second law is the law of correspondence. We can also think of this as the law of communication. as I just mentioned, that infinite one mind that we are all a part of is constantly in communion with us. It's constantly trying to feed us information that will help us with whatever life situation we're currently experiencing. And we block that flow of communication, usually because of our unworthiness. So our belief that we are not worthy of hearing that one mind of God commune with us is a really big reason as to why we do not hear or receive our innate intuitive knowing. So that infinite one mind is trying to commune or correspond with us, and we're not hearing it. The other part of this law is that the law of correspondence states, as within, so without, as above, so below. It's impossible. So the as above, so below is that there's this infinite one mind that's trying to commune with you because you are it, and it loves you, and it wants you to know the answers to your life, and you're blocking it because you're like, no, I'm not worthy. The other part of that is that as within, so without. What you see in this dream, this world around you, is in correspondence with what you believe about it, remembering that everything is pure consciousness. So whatever you're holding within you, whatever your belief about reality is what will correspond with you. You will see that returned to you. There's phases to this. It doesn't necessarily happen all at once that we suddenly change our thinking and we see a benevolent world. We begin by being willing to put down judgment. And when we start to surrender judgment of good or bad, or this is good for me, this is bad for me, then we begin to move into a more suggestible and open state. And from that place, we begin to then build, because everything is consciousness, a reality from our belief that is now judgment-free and therefore not fearful, and therefore not kind of pushing out a fearful story, that we are able to receive a benevolent and loving world back to us. So we start to not only see better things in other people, we start to literally receive better things from other people and from the world at large. So this is a two-stage process, and it's a powerful thing to be able to go on that journey of surrendering judgment of good or bad. But the law of correspondence is basically saying, as within, so without, as above, so below. Okay, let's get to the last one. Let's see if I can do 3 laws in 15 minutes. The final law states, is the law of vibration, and it is stating that everything is in motion. Now, we know from quantum physics that right down to the level of the subatomic particle, we are not actually particles at all. We are wave. We are pure potential. And it is through the active observation that the wave turns into a particle. This was evidenced in the double slit experiment. So everything that we are is motion. It is constant change. It's constant flux. It's constant movement. Nothing about us is still. It is simply a misnomer to think that we're solid. We are vibrating particles or fields within fields within fields. And not only are we that, right down from the subatomic particle right up to the full expression of our physical body, so is everything that we see around us. Everything right up to the entire cosmos is simply a field of vibration. And that vibration is instructed to behave through frequency. And what creates that frequency is, in our bodies, feeling state. So when we alter our feeling state, when we alter, remembering, going back to the law of correspondence, when we put down judgment, we start to see a loving world. Well, why is that? Well, now we see from the law of vibration, it's because you change your vibration to a different frequency. Just like when you tune in on a radio to a different station, you have to change the frequency to get to different sounds, different music, different voices. We alter our reality by tuning into a different frequency. We change our vibration and suddenly we are attuned to a different reality. So there's every layer of reality, every layer of hell and every layer of heaven that you can make a choice to attune to with your vibration. But it's putting down the idea that you are solid matter, and that your highest goal is to stop things from changing. Those two things are what cause most of our suffering. If we begin to recognize that we are fields within fields within fields of vibrating waves of energy that are communing with each other and that infinite one mind all of the time, and that it is by altering our vibration that we're able to actually meet ourselves as that infinite one mind and get clear access to all the information that's available to us, we will start to see how we can come into crafting a reality, not just passively receiving a reality. So these three laws, as you can hear from the way I'm describing them, are so connected. You can't really have one without the other. And the reason they're immutable is that it will not matter where we are on our evolutionary journey. These laws will not change. So we better get on board with them, yeah? So when things start going wrong or right in your life, depending on your judgment of them, don't say, oh my God, why is God punishing me? Or why am I being taught a lesson? Or why did that person do this to me? Look to yourself and simply ask that question. Where have I broken the law? Where am I out of correspondence? Am I angry with the world and expecting to see a loving world? Am I holding the idea that my thoughts are not crafting my reality? Am I holding a low, heavy feeling state and I'm not willing to change that, and I want to sit in my grumpiness and expect everybody to change around me and hoping that suddenly I'll be high vibing? It's simply not possible. There's so much I want to share with you on this, and this is the information that I share as part of the Institute's Initiate program, which will be opening its doors, the live round where I'll be guiding you through at the end of August. The program starts at the beginning of September. Nothing's available yet. It's not open, but I just want to start giving you information that I believe when we have this in our life, everything will change for the better. And when we don't have this information, we're literally walking around kind of blindfolded, bumping into things, hoping that things are going to go our way, and ultimately just chancing it. Why would we do that when we've actually been given direct information handed down for thousands of years to actually be able to access and alter reality, the fabric of existence? It's about understanding the true nature of consciousness and our capacity to alter consciousness. So those are the three immutable laws. And I think that when we have this knowledge and this information, we have so much potential to unlock our lives and to start seeing something that we truly want, not just passively receiving whatever has turned up for